Hello everyone. Today in this video we'll discuss about the interrupt, the roles of interrupt and the different kind of interrupts as well. Interrupt in the computing refers to a signal sent by the hardware or software to alert the CPU that an event requiring immediate attention has occurred. This event could range from hardware errors such as disk error or else network packet arrival to requests from software process needing the CPU's attentions, such as a system call or completion of an input-output operation. Interrupts are essential for efficient multitasking on CPUs instead of consistently checking for events. Interrupts allow the CPU to respond promptly when events occur. When an interrupt is triggered, the CPU saves the on-running process and transfers control to the interrupt handler. The interrupt handler which manages the event and restores the CPU to its prior state. This seamless process ensures that the task can be managed effectively without wasting CPU or resources on continuing polling or waiting. Interrupts are crucial in operating systems for several reasons: efficiency, responsiveness, resource sharing, and task management. Um, there are some difference between the hardware and software interrupts. So we'll discuss about the hardware. Hardware interrupts are signals which are generated by the hardware device to alert the CPU that immediate attention is needed. This interrupt originate from external events, prompting the CPU to respond promptly and appropriately. The input output interrupts, these are some of the classifications in the interrupts of the hardware. The input output interrupts when an peripheral device like a keyboard, mouse, or disk drives needs to transfer data or signal completion of an operation. uh, Timer interruptions, which are generated by a system timer to maintain accurate timekeeping or to trigger pre-emptive multitasking. Hardware errors, signals for components indicating errors or exceptional conditions that require immediate attentions. Software interrupts, also known as the trap or exceptions, are initiated by software program rather than external hardware events. These interrupts are typically used for specific system calls or exceptional conditions that require privileged operations or services from the operating systems. These are some examples: system calls, arithmetic errors, and page faults. The system calls is nothing but program requires request services like input output operations or process control from the operating system through the software interrupts. Arithmetic errors is nothing but uh, which is division by zero or invalid arithmetic operations that need to be handled gracefully or carefully stop the errors or to prevent from the errors. Page fault, when a program access memory that is not currently mapped in the system's virtual memory. So this is a table of the difference between the hardware and the software interrupts. This is the aspect, and this is the first block is like source. External devices which comes under the hardware interrupts like a keyboard, mouse, devices and everything. Internal software or programs, software interrupts trigger physical events or signals, program instructions or exceptions. Handling handled by interrupt services routines in the hardware, handled by the operating system's interrupt handler. Purpose: respond to immediate hardware needs, the software response request, OS services or signal errors. These are some examples of the hardware and the software system calls and illegal operations. So these are the types of interrupts. Interrupts are divided into two types: hardware interrupts and software interrupts. Where the hardware is divided into two more categories, which are like maskable interrupts and non-maskable interrupts. Hardware interrupt is nothing but we have discussed in the above point. These interrupts are generated by the external hardware devices to signal that CPU for immediate attention. Example which include signals from the input-output devices such as keyboard, mouse, and everything. Uh, Keyboard interrupts, which is the error which is generated by the key is pressed or released on the keyboard. Timer interrupt triggered by the system timer to perform periodic tasks. And disk interrupt occurs when a disk operation is completed or when the data needs to be retrieved from the return to a disk. So this is a diagram of an hardware interrupt, user, application, operating system, and the hardware. So this is a cycle which the hardware interrupt follows. Software interrupt is nothing but it is also known as a trap. This interrupts are initiated by the software program to request specific services from the operating system. This software interrupts have some examples which includes like system calls, arithmetic exceptions, and page fault. Okay. And maskable and non-maskable maskable interrupts can be temporarily disabled by the CPU, allowing greater control over when they are serviced. Non-maskable are not the interrupts that are uh, one-handed cannot be disabled and are used for critical events that requires immediate attention, such as hardware errors. So the software can be retrieved, but the non-maskable is similar to the hardware one, so which has to be retrieved, and which need to be take immediate action to to retrieve the particular data. Exceptions is nothing but exceptions are anomalies or conditions that occurs during program execution that distribute normal flow. Example include arithmetic errors like division by zero and page fault. Exception is nothing but the under division of a software interrupt. Exceptions are typically handled by specific routines exception handler to manage and recover from these conditions. Exception handlers are used in such situations where exception interrupt is arised. So this exception is arised interrupt arise has some examples. When division by zero, invalid OP code, or segmentation fault. When a program attempts to divide a number by zero, it comes like different decimals, or else the number will be like it is too difficult to do the division with a zero. So in that situations, this exception interrupt might be arise. Invalid OP code occurs when the CPU encounters an undefined or unrecognized instruction. So the CPU has to be sent some particular information to uh, it to run the program, or else it to run the data or a particular file. Uh, a segmentation fault are generated when a program attempts to access memory outside its allocated boundaries. This segmentation fault occurs when the person wants to find something, but which is way away from the particular file. So this thing we have discussed in this particular video, and we'll be discussing more about interrupts and its various important roles in the further coming videos. Thank you so much.